Sometimes adjusting your affirmations is actually a good thing. The subconscious mind is a powerful thing, but how is it actually programmed? Well, that's what we're going to explore in today's video. Hello guys, welcome back, and hi to any new viewers who happen to click on this video. I'm talking about your SP manifestation, but this does apply to any manifestation. It's about the way your mind works, subconsciously, deeper rooted, what's ingrained in the human brain and psychology, and what are the mechanisms that are actually creating our new beliefs. We're kind of delving into that part of manifestation. It's going to hopefully give you guys maybe some more self-awareness and just understanding your own brain, which is really important because it will actually answer a lot of manifestation questions. So without further ado, let's just jump right into it. Mechanical burnout is actually something that can occur when you are pressuring yourself. So chances are you're at a point of maybe burnout, a bit of a plateau. Maybe you feel like you just haven't been making any more progress and things are a bit tough for your manifestation. And that is quite normal. That doesn't mean you failed at your manifestation. Like I said, it's literally just a plateau. So mechanical burnout, basically when I guess the way I would explain it about manifesting is that you've been mechanically, robotically, with consistency most likely, looping your affirmations, or you've been putting in repetition, but you've been too focused on your 3D reality, you've been too focused and triggered by, not being able to let go of whatever is in your 3D, whether it's in the present or in the past. And then you're reaching this point of burnout. Your brain has mechanical burnout. It's like revving a car engine for 20 hours. Eventually it's just gonna burn out. So if you're pressuring yourself, you're trying to maybe speed up, be impatient, just come from this mindset of lack, really, of not having your manifestation. I'd also say there's a good chance you guys watching this, if you've experienced this, you may also have been hyper fixated on the manifestation process, I should say, which also slows things down. And just because internally, it doesn't mean your manifestation doesn't work or that you have to, do it step 1, step 2, step 3. Everyone's slightly different. It's coming from slightly different starting points, even with an SP manifestation. And I would say even more so because it is another human being. It's a relationship. It's more complex. But if you're hyper fixated on the process, on, last week I was here, then this week this happened, and 12 hours ago I was experiencing this, or this what came up on my social media. If you're quantifying everything and you're judging everything and keeping track rather than just living and focusing on your mindset and just doing your best to think and feel in alignment with the end result, think and feel just good, right? It's about feeling positive and empowered, motivated, all of those kind of things. When you do get hyper fixated on each step, it will slow things down. So chances are maybe you've pushed yourself too much, put a lot of pressure on yourself on the manifesting timeline, and it's just led to a burnout. You've probably had like 1,000 thoughts and questions come up in your mind. And that is just not a natural or healthy way for your mind to process things. So it's reached a point of burnout. And yes, the subconscious can even get to a point where it doesn't reject or do the opposite, but it will kind of stop taking in where your focus has gone. If, let's say, for 5 hours, even though robotic affirming works, if you spend 5 hours saying the same phrase without a break, for example, you'll also reach burnout. You'll get bored, distracted. Yes, your subconscious is still listening, but when your conscious mind is disengaged and you have no motivation, no enjoyment, the chances of you having more opposing thoughts and negative reaction increases a lot. Your focus has diminished. And oftentimes people are doing that because it's coming from a state of lack, of not trusting the journey and the manifesting process overall, because people think I have to force it, I have to do this in order to get anything positive. But yeah, basically forcing yourself, it is a sign of lack. You're then going to be hit by that psychological fatigue because you've been thinking from a state of lack. It doesn't matter that you're coming from lack. Obviously, when you're manifesting something, it's because you don't physically possess it yet. It's not in your current 3D reality. So obviously that's why you focus on it and manifest. But if you think that way, if you continue to think with whatever's been going on in your 3D, then do you really think you're going to suddenly change those circumstances? So make sure you guys understand that this can come up. It's okay. It's temporary. If it happens, you just recognize it, have some self-awareness. Maybe after this video, it will help you have that realization and just understand, okay, that psychological fatigue and impact, it can hit, and it's just a temporary roadblock. If you've been feeling demotivated, bored, uninspired, and just overall unfocused, then those are potential signs that, and I don't just mean randomly because our emotions fluctuate, that's normal. We don't maintain an emotional state 24/7. But if that has been a continuous pattern and you've just reached a point where maybe your excitement has gone, you don't think or feel as positive, it's probably a sign that you've reached that point of fatigue. In a way, it's a paradox, you've pushed yourself too much to manifest. And yes, like I said, robotic affirming, saturating your mind works, but there's a limit depending on where you're already at mentally, how you're feeling emotionally. Has it been like positive effort, or has it been thinking, I don't have it and I have to force it to come here now? That is still repeating lack. So those emotions are just signs to be aware of, to maybe just take the day off, take a step back, get on your mental diet. But I'm going to talk a lot more about that throughout the video, so don't worry. Right now, we're just talking about how to know these signs. And when that novelty and excitement seems to wear off, your discipline is the most important. Like I said, not giving up, not spiraling and saying, oh my gosh, this is the worst thing ever. Reminding yourself, okay, I have discipline, I need to implement discipline, and reminding yourself, it really is just a matter of perspective, of my mindset. What can I do? A mental diet. Push back against those opposing thoughts. It doesn't mean I have to sit here for 3 hours, otherwise I will not manifest. You want to be careful with what assumptions you're building up around that. What it also may mean is that your conscious mind just is not accepting your routine. So the subconscious can be trained and accepts things, there's no logic applied to it. However, when your conscious mind is pushing back, it does slow it down. It does make it more difficult. So your conscious mind has, at that point, gotten to a stage of basically rejecting your current routine. And then if you do keep worrying about not getting it, or you're just in that current state, it does create a vicious cycle where you're allowing those emotions and those reactions. Well, I shouldn't phrase it like that, because you need to just let things come up. You don't have to control every single emotion, but because you are letting yourself stay triggered or continue to think negatively or judge everything externally, and then experiencing this kind of fatigue or disconnect and starting to question things and losing that motivation. And the root of that is usually something about, wanting to try and guarantee and force your manifestation to come in. But it does build into this vicious cycle where you're going to stay like that if you don't make some changes. If you're ready to take your manifestation to the end, straight to that end result, then I definitely recommend you guys to consider coaching. The link is below. You can scroll through my website for free. Just take a minute to look at what special coaching offers I have available. I price everything very competitively, and all the written coaching does actually come with a free infographic. So at the end of your email coaching session, you will receive that, which I don't believe any other coach is offering to my knowledge, so definitely take a look. And there's this weird paradox where you obviously understand, you guys all watching, understand how manifesting works and why you're applying manifestation here and using your mindset, improving your mindset, but your current routine of doing that just isn't working right now. I would ask you guys, are you obsessing and fixating on the routine and on what results you may or may not be creating? You want to make sure you don't get stuck, like I said, in this reactive loop where everything is just entirely based, including your mood, your emotions, your nervous system, emotional regulation. Everything is dictated and controlled by what's going on around you. The most important part is, of course, to find the right motivation. No one says that you have to, just because you found manifesting videos or you appreciate it, you don't have to manifest anything really. So finding and understanding your own personal motivation. What is it that makes you want this? And in this case, a specific person, although I said it does apply to anything, but this relationship, what is it that is your motivation? And I had a really great comment from a viewer recently, if you're watching, hello, who said, that this was really amazing advice from one of my recent videos, that understanding why you want it, what is it that you want from this relationship? What makes you want your specific person? You need to have the motivation, because yes, the feeling and experience of feeling motivated won't be there, but you know what you're working towards and why you're doing it. So I would say just to have that visual format in front of you and really be able to see and kind of understand and reconnect better to why you want it. Write down your reasons that make you want this relationship. What is it you're looking to create and get from this? And then, of course, just speak to yourself from that mindset. Speak to yourself in a conversation. It really is just thoughts. I don't mean you have to literally have a conversation with yourself. You can just think this way, but speak from that mindset of already having it. And also something to let go of is to not think that if you stop doing your routine, if you stop forcing yourself to follow a very strict routine every day, or that if I don't do X, I won't get my results. Because it's not true that this will ruin your progress. Like I said, it might slow things down. It's a temporary hurdle for you to jump over, but it certainly doesn't ruin the result or prevent you from getting your manifestation. It is obviously just more difficult. And like I said, your mind can reach that point of psychological fatigue. Your conscious mind just shuts down a bit, disengages with your affirmations, for example. The tough part is as well that your nervous system is pushing back. If it was just your thoughts, yes, you might say, okay, well, I'll just throw in my mental diet there, but your nervous system will respond, your neural pathways, it's kind of all interconnected. And then with the specific wording of your affirmations, if you have this one phrase, for example, that you repeat over and over, your neural pathways as well will become somewhat desensitized to it, where those words, they don't completely lose meaning, obviously, but your conscious mind disengages, your neural pathways no longer view it as something new that you're creating. It's almost like oversaturation. And no, I am not saying that robotic affirming and consistency don't work. Obviously, that's always been the key, but you don't have to do it for hours a day or force yourself to spend every free moment looping one affirmation. Because when your conscious mind is engaged, you will experience basically no friction, lower mental resistance. When your conscious mind can enjoy it and you feel kind of motivated and reinvigorated, so to speak, with your manifestation, switching up your wording, which I'm going to speak about in a moment as well, then your conscious mind gets re-engaged. I'm not an expert, but I assume that given the previous issue I mentioned, your neural pathways then also become re-engaged. Your emotional state responds as well. And yes, I can attest to this myself, when my mood feels lifted, when I'm doing something that feels a little bit new or exciting with my manifestations. It's also going to lower your mind's natural defense mechanisms that might be preventing some of that saturation from coming in, and that prevent you from connecting with it, because the mind has these natural defense mechanisms. Like I said, psychologically, there is a lot going on, and you're increasing that by trying to push the same phrase over and over. It almost becomes desensitized, but then you're going to lower that defense mechanism, kind of lowering that mental resistance. But at this point, it does come down to changing up your routine a little bit, even just for a day or two, to reset, and maybe changing some of the wording of your affirmations, which I am going to speak about now. So how to prevent that up and down internal experience. It's enough to have those hot and cold experiences in the 3D. You don't need to be experiencing that as well internally. So really want to find a way to connect to what you're manifesting and why you're manifesting it. Like I said, having that visual written list of all the reasons why you want this, what it's going to bring to your life, why you gain from it, and why it truly makes you happy. Your own personal motivation, not just, I have feelings for SP. No, what is it for you? What do you actually want from this? You understand that, you know what you need to do and why you're doing it. So maybe changing up some of the wording, or you'll find inspiration for an inner conversation, a visual, maybe finding slight ways to adjust that temporarily, mix it in. Essentially stop waiting for something to just happen, something to show up with your SP, but letting it happen internally, naturally. Making sure that, like I said, you connect to it, you think and feel as if it's already here. How can you connect to that more? How can you create more enjoyment? So remind yourself what it actually feels like to have this relationship when you were up. If you've maybe already had a relationship with your SP, or you obviously maybe have some relationship experience or dating experience where this is how I feel when it's really good, and when I'm just having the relationship or experience I deserve, this is what it feels like, and this is how I was last week before this little crash out, and I felt all of these kind of emotions and I really connected to it. Getting back to that place, not just saying, oh my gosh, what's going on in circumstances, asking a million questions about manifesting, instead of saying, what can I do to bring myself back to that point? Shifting your dominant focus from waiting for it, the state of not having it, into thinking as if it's literally already here right now. You're in this relationship. So like I said, adjusting the wording of your affirmations. This means maybe synonyms. I don't mean completely changing it because they're wrong. You know, you're manifesting what you're manifesting, stick with that. Everyone has their own, but I'm talking specifically about maybe synonyms, taking a slightly different approach. Maybe if you've gone a bit more general, like saying SP and I have an amazing relationship, maybe saying SP and I have a committed relationship. Even just synonyms, like I said, SP and I have a wonderful relationship. I love being in this relationship with SP, and that can help, almost like a placebo effect, but it actually works for your emotional state, your emotions and how you feel. You know, just kind of picking out slightly different elements where you're changing it up a little bit, and you can keep the original one in, maybe alternate between them, or just take a day to shift your focus slightly. So have fun with it, because it's about finding what helps you stay focused and connected to this end result. So really deciding, okay, what was I doing? How was I feeling? What kind of, how was I going about my day, and mentally as well, when I felt really good, motivated, like I just trusted, I knew this manifestation was already mine. So instead of spiraling or getting into this victim, despondent type of mindset again, where you're catastrophizing it and feeling like it's ruined, apply your mental diet. That's also part of the inner conversations that I've already highlighted, but that kind of summarizes it, where you're flipping the thoughts, you're speaking and thinking to yourself as if it's here. It doesn't have to be robotically in a boring way, just saying your one affirmation over and over. And of course, live your life, value your time, value yourself. That, like I said, no one's forcing you to do this. You're not obligated to do any of this. Appreciate yourself, value your life, and that time is precious. You know, don't go in with this assumption that I have to do 5 hours a day or it's just not going to show up. And if you change up that wording, or maybe change up your approach slightly, maybe switch to a visual that implies your end result, your conscious mind is going to be kind of caught off guard actually, and is more likely to reconnect. You don't use the exact same repetitive routine and repetitive method over and over all day, every day. When I say all day, I mean throughout the day, not your literal entire day. Your mind is going to feel more inspired. Your conscious mind will focus more, because it's almost like it's something new. Your mind definitely pays better attention, closer attention to variety. So mix it up, have fun, don't be scared. Trust that you're the one creating this end result with your mental focus by deciding, you know, I can have this, this is what I want, this is what I'm going to achieve. And keep practicing those inner conversations. That's the main thing, where you're implementing a mental diet. It's something a bit different. It's a good way to shift from one specific affirmation into just kind of talking to yourself and describing the relationship, and it's part of your mental diet as well, so you can use that when your thoughts start to spiral as well. I hope this was a really useful video, something a little bit different, but I think a lot of people might be able to relate to this. So hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I will see you next time.